So I started recording. Um, okay, hello Blake. Can you give us a brief introduction about yourself, your name, your grade, what school you come from, um, what you do, extracurriculars, and how you use AI in general?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Blake. I'm from Newport High School. I'm a junior and an upcoming senior at the school. And I would say that some of the activities and hobbies I have are including debate, Mall UN, and as well as badminton. I also like volunteering a lot, specifically for debate, for tutoring, for as well as Mall UN. And yeah, I run a badminton club alongside Tony and a few others. And I would say the way that I use AI is like not the most um like widespread or a lot. I would say that I use AI kind of minimally in a sense. I like to write my essays, for example, from scratch. Occasionally I might use it for debate research, but that's just preliminary debate research. But I do have some thoughts about AI and yeah.
All right, cool. So when I'm editing the video, I'll just clip your answer uh,
Mm.
into the video so that we can have like little chit chat in between like this.
Okay, for
That's
sure.
fine. All right,
Nice.
so yeah, I'll just start off with the first question. So, are you familiar with the concept of generative AI?
Kind of know about AI, and I what I assume from it is kind of like stuff like ChatGPT and stuff that gives you stuff on the spot. If I'm not mistaken.
Do you use generative AI in your daily life? How and how often?
I don't use it in my daily life. I actually use it very, very rarely, I would say. It was only just recently when I had to do debate topics like on the spot where I had to research really quickly that I used ChatGPT just for preliminary research, just generating ideas for me, and then the rest I would have to like search on my own. So not very often.
I'm just gonna pull up the questions on my phone because it's a pain to
Yeah,
like kind of switch between.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't actually, yeah, I actually don't use ChatGPT and a lot of other stuff very frequently.
Okay. Next question. Would you like to see generative AI being incorporated in academia? Why or why not? And to be more specific, the way that we'll employ Gen AI, the assumption in this question will be using Gen AI as a tool, similar to as how the math students use calculator to do some of the calculation works for them. Would you like to see generative AI being incorporated in academia? Why or why not?
So I think that Gen AI can be used in academia, but kind of more in the background rather than on the forefront. I think, in short, I would say yes, but there are conditions to my answer in which I believe that if the AI is doing all of the work for academic articles, which I think there's news that has arisen in the recent few like weeks or months about how some people are just copying entire like prompts from ChatGPT and their answers into a research paper and then publishing it as their own. Firstly, I think that's a lot of what ChatGPT and what or I'm just using ChatGPT kind of, but what a lot of what some Gen AI does, it seems, is just like choppy writing, writing that might not necessarily be backed by research all the time. Might be like small errors occasionally, but even if it were to get really good to the point of surpassing human writing, I still think that human writing should be at the forefront, and should be kind of like what is presented because it's kind of the credibility and all the um like credentials that are attached to it are kind of the humans and what they've done in terms of years of research, years of going to college and university and getting degrees and stuff like that. I would rather see something that they produce rather than something that AI just compiles from across the internet and probably not even at the request or at the like notice of like these the people who actually kind of um I guess like the AI took from maybe. But the way that I would agree with um AI being implemented into academia would just be kind of preliminary research, just generating ideas, just giving out thoughts and kind of less of a active role, but more of a like preliminary research role and stuff like that.
So your explanation of using Gen AI in the background in academia is just like using Gen AI as a search engine to generate ideas. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, kind of. Just rather than using it to do all of the work, is just using it kind of as a consultant, kind of as an advisor, rather than someone who would do all the work for you.
So how would you draw the line in between what generative AI should do and should not do? Like how would you distinguish if a certain task should be done by humans so that they can demonstrate their intellectual thinking?
I think that the overall the the broader themes, the broader ideas, and probably as well the writing itself should be done by humans. Kind of, uh, basically basically, I would say that everything is directly presented. Otherwise, kind of more background information, kind of researching can be done by the AI. Like basically, if you need to credit the AI for doing anything, I don't think I think that's where the line is drawn. If you need to credit the AI for doing anything, that's kind of crossing the line in terms of doing your own work or
See,
letting the AI do it for you.
cool. Do you think the use of generative AI in academia might hinder students' development of essential skills?
Yes, for sure. I would say that by giving people and students specifically access to AI, I think a lot of people, including myself, are concerned that whether people in the future can be attributed to their degrees. Like if they use an AI to write one of their essays or a research paper and they got a degree afterwards, is that degree still credible and can it be attached to that specific person or is it attached to the AI? Which I think it hinders a lot of their kind of active involvement and development because the AI is doing this stuff for them rather than themselves putting in the work, learning. And it's kind of like taking notes. When you're actively taking notes by yourself, whether it's on paper or whether it's on your computer, you're kind of internalizing it in a sense. You have to understand it so that you could put it in your own words. That's kind of what maybe writing essays are like without the help of AI. But if
Could
you
you
put AI into the, oh yeah, sorry, no,
could
if you
you
put AI,
explicitly
yeah,
like name a few skills that you think students like that you think generative AI is hindering students' developments on? Like, could you explicitly name a few?
yeah, for sure. I think just uh stuff like essay writing comes to mind, maybe as well as content creation, like drawing, like creativity wise. Um, Now it might just become who can put in the best directions for AI rather than who can actually make the best artwork or the best song or music and stuff like that. So I think it's just creativity and as well as more specific skills like writing and um, things that traditionally have been kind of viewed as what only humans can really do.
Do you think content's generated by AI belongs to a person?
Um, I think it's like it kind of does enter into a gray area, which I personally have not figured out, and I don't think a lot of like other people might not have figured out. But I think that when AI compiles everything together, it's just made by the AI. It doesn't necessarily belong to the people who the AI might have taken it from, but that certainly does get into kind of copyright issues, kind of get into issues like that. Like for example, next year's debate topic is on intellectual property rights, and one of the key case studies Um, or examples is kind of Scarlett Johansson's voice being used by I think like OpenAI or it was being used for AI purposes. And it's kind of like an ambiguity surrounding whether this was her voice or not. And I think that does enter into a gray area, which it might sound like this person, it might look like everything this person has done, but it isn't necessarily directly from that person. So yeah.
Let's talk about another scenario where people use AI generated content. So if say a person use ChatGPT to generate an essay, would you say the essay belongs to that person?
No, I would not agree at all that the essay belongs to that specific person because it was made by the AI. The person did not put any effort into it rather than just other than just typing a single like question. All of it was generated by the AI and probably taken from like whatever sources the AI used. So it wouldn't belong to the student.
So I guess a follow-up to that question, if an AI user elaborately crafted a prompt that specifically provides the background information, the context, and everything the essays need to be written, and then the person enters the very elaborated prompt into ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT generated an essay for them, would you say the essay generated by the AI belongs to them in this case? Is there a difference between this case and the previous case where a person just enters a very simple, like write me an essay prompt? Is there a difference between these two?
I think that what the person has, I think in both cases, still the prompt itself belongs to, or not necessarily belongs, but was created by and can be attributed directly to the user or the person. But in both cases, still the essay is not the person's because it was like generated out of kind of thin air. Like if you take the AI out of the equation, it seems like it was generated out of thin air still. The person did not directly like put any of the words into it. It may have like they may have given background on it, typed out how elaborate, like any amount of elaboration in the prompt can't really justify, just directly taking the answer from the AI.
Okay, cool. And for the next few questions, I'm gonna give a little bit of context. So the next few questions are gonna be about like a roadmap to normalizing the use of Gen AI. And the assumption here made is that Gen AI is being used as a tool, and whatever like results produced by this tool belongs to the person. Or basically, we're saying like the question I just asked you, we're assuming that like the contents belong to the user. And the other assumption we're making here is that like right now, calculators are allowed for like math students to simplify and to speed up their calculation process, right? But calculators before might be seen as a way of cheating. But like since the educational systems, they have developed ways to separate the a person's own analytical, logical thinking and the simple task of calculation. Now that they allow calculators to speed up the simple calculation process. And like during this whole thing, a person can still show their own analytical thinking, because like there are math questions that if you are just given the calculator but you don't know the content, you still can't solve it, right? So that's the second assumptions we're making here. Um, so the first question will be, how can students can how can students show their own analytical thinking on a subject while using Gen AI?
Mhm. Yeah, I think if they were to use Gen AI in the first place, I think they shouldn't try to pass it off as their own. At least they probably would need to credit the AI. But if they were to try to show their thinking, I think, yeah, in one of the senses, they could try to like write a very detailed prompt background idea. Maybe they could um, I mean, it might kind of defeat like the purpose of them using the AI in the first place, but they could write their own essay in the first place and then ask the AI to write something in their style or kind of like how they wrote it. Um, as well, coming up with elaborate prompts, things like that. Although the other thing I think is that sometimes they might not be able to show a full uh, depth of knowledge or a really great extent of kind of what they know, or like if they were to just write a prompt and let the AI do the essay writing. Like in comparison with calculators, calculators kind of does the hard math. Like the math will always remain the same. I believe like math versus kind of the writing here. The writing here is kind of a creative process. It's more of like flexible. It's more open to interpretation. And basically, it's kind of like there are no wrong answers, like what teachers always say in these types of classes. Whereas math, there is just basically, I mean, there's basically one, two, or just how many answers you can arrive to. There aren't infinite, unlike the arts or like unlike writing. So I think in the sense that calculators have been seen less as cheating, that does make sense because it does the hard math for you. It saves you time in terms of just having to calculate it and saves room for or prevents room for error. But on the other hand, like the writing process is kind of it's like more free flowing and open to interpretation. And if you let the AI do that, it kind of takes away the thinking that the student has to do in between. So yeah.
Cool. And next question is going to be based on teachers' point of view. So if we go back to the calculators, math teachers have found their way to kind of decouple algebra and just the hard math. So now that the calculators are allowed, people can just like skip the hard math part, as you said, and still work on the algebra and demonstrate their logical thinking. So if we were to consider from a teacher's point of view, how could the teaching methods or the teaching system and standards be changed to adapt to the integration of Gen AI? Or how, in other words, how could the teaching standards be changed so that the students can still demonstrate their higher logical thinking while using Gen AI?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question that might take a while to like truly find the answer to. But I think what I think is just that if they're like the most direct answer I first think of is that if we're using AI, if it's kind of like unavoidable for these assignments, like maybe um creating a very niche topic that maybe the internet even has difficulty understanding, and it would probably have to come organically from the students, which would be probably really hard for the students to even generate research on. Um, like for example, if it's something like very specific, um, like acupuncture for like armadillos or just something random. Um, I think some of those topics would like be almost, I mean, if there were those types of topics, it could almost be impossible for the AI to generate anything. Like the more conditions or the more specific things you attach to it, the harder it could be potentially. So I think those very specific topics could help. Um, but on the other hand, I also do think that the way that some teachers are adapting to this, especially language arts teachers, are just having people write the essays in class, um, under kind of supervision, being monitored, as well as not having access to some of the tools that, for example, like some of the AI tools. Um, that would be like less of an integration with AI, but it's a method that also I think seems to work and kind of encourages students to understand how to write topics. Although the other thing is that it is kind of a superficial method of putting ideas down. I had a teacher, a US history teacher once say that it's kind of like superficial to just put down all those ideas in such a short amount of time. It's not really intellectual thinking. So I guess the third idea kind of can just be like I think open to interpretation. Maybe just figuring out a way so that students can write their own ideas and um because a lot of the times you can probably separate for now at least. You can probably separate at least a bit what is generated by AI and what is written organically by the student. So I think having that ability to distinguish opens it up so that the student is still able to demonstrate knowledge, but they're kind of also under the kind of like threat, but also under the impression that they will be discovered if they were to use AI. So the system of trust and the system of being able to kind of detect that is also important in some cases.
Yeah, yeah, I can see like some of the methods that you were describing are already put into use. Yeah, but I guess like particularly if we were to assume that Gen AI are already being widely spread among the student population, and they're using it as a tool to accomplish some of the hard math or just those type of labor intensive work. Is there some way that the teachers could change about their standards of teaching to adapt to this change of technology?
Yeah,
So,
for
so
sure.
not completely like avoiding the use of AI or how to tell if someone used AI. More like if everyone's already using AI, is there a way that the teaching standards could change to adapt to this change, to this like adaptation of Gen AI?
Yeah. I think the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about hard math is like the hard rules in English, which I just thought of, which do exist. I'm thinking of grammar in particular, so maybe removing or just like having less emphasis on grammar, on just spelling in particular, could could open room for more focus on intellectual thinking, on presenting your ideas. Um, I just thought of something else. In particular, like with as a debater personally, I did read a book that recently, um, or I did read a 2006 book recently, which is kind of talking about integrating debate into the teaching curriculum. So I think a lot of the times when people are forced to present their ideas out loud, if they're forced to discuss them, they really have incentive to internalize it. So even if they're writing an essay with generative AI, they can still they still have incentive to understand the topic, to be able to present their ideas, and that can probably come through debating or speaking, something that might not truly be able to be replicated by AI, especially if you're doing it in front of the class in person, and it's almost impossible to have AI to do it for you in that moment. So I think by integrating some speaking portions into class, discussions, more open dialogue during class time about topics that students might have written essays on could help to like demonstrate that creativity in kind of a different way, but also in like a similar and a related way.
So kind of like having new teaching standards that um like force the student to internalize the contents.
Yeah, for sure. And also not just forcing, but kind of encouraging them to do so.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, that's the end of the my questions. I want to hear about some like feedbacks. Is there anything like you want to like tell me about the questions, how I should change them, or like the pace, or if there's any like other question that you found meaningful that you think I should ask other interviewees?
I think your questions I think your questions was actually like really thought provoking and really interesting. I mean like I kind of my bad. I felt like I was rambling at times, but they did make me like I guess it's a sign of just like making me think about it. And I think they're
Yeah,
yeah pretty interesting and very cool questions. Yeah, not many questions I can think of as of now, but sure. I don't know. The first one I just randomly think of. I mean, if you want to ask others this, like maybe integrate a current events related thing, like I don't know, the stealing of people's like intellectual property maybe, or I don't know. I'm just thinking in the debate mindset right now. Like our topic next year is intellectual property, so yeah, but maybe introducing a current events related thing related to kind of AI. And kind of asking people's thoughts on that. That could just be one question on that, but I'm not sure. It's up to you too. depending on kind of what your goal is for, the interview. So yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. And I was recently reading about like this blog, and there was a competition about writing prompts for the AI. I think that was actually like pretty interesting. Maybe I could introduce people about like this
Oh,
competition and ask about like stuff that's like their judgments on perhaps whether or not the contents produced by AI from this competition belongs to the contestants. Because like the point of this competition like, is to engineer really, really thoughtful prompts so that the AI could produce the best results. So yeah, that's pretty interesting and I guess like also pretty complex. Yeah,
mhm.
maybe yeah, I'll look into that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another random thing I thought I just like remembered. Not sure if this is I think I saw on social media, but it was just an artist enters in his own artwork into an AI art competition and he got first place. So it's kind of like the reverse happening here. Is rather than kind of stealing from AI, it's kind of like a competition that it's directly you're supposed to take it from AI, but this guy just created his own artwork and he ended up winning first place. And then later when they found out, they disqualified him. So I think it's an interesting thing of like I don't know, like the reverse happening can like I don't know, like cheating in the competition by using your own artwork. But I guess it's also kind of to send a message too, but it's just a interesting thing that um maybe I don't know, maybe like we can people can like take away from or something. Yeah, it's kind of funny too.
Um, yeah, I'll end the recording right here.